Sean Pickett with Sales Integrity here. Thank you for listening to the Sales Integrity Podcast. I created a free course for you titled 7 Steps to Master the Game of Complex Technical Selling. To claim your free course, just visit mastercomplexselling.com. Again, that's mastercomplexselling.com, or simply text the word SI course to the number 44222. Again, that's SI as in Sales Integrity. So SI course, all one word with no space in between SI and course. Otherwise, you'll get an error message back. So simply text the word SI course to the number 44222. Now let's jump into the podcast. On today's Throwback Thursday episode, we throw it back to an original legend of sales training and motivation, Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill was born on October 26, 1883, and died on November 8, 1970. He was an American self-help author inspired by the New Thought movement, and he was well known for his book, Think and Grow Rich, which has sold 20 million copies and is among the top 10 best-selling self-help books of all time. According to his Wikipedia page, Hill's works insisted that fervid expectations are essential to improving one's life, and most of his books were promoted as expounding principles to achieve success. Hill, along with Wallace Wattles, Christian D. Larson, W. Clement Stone, and Dale Carnegie, are all known as original New Thought leaders who sparked the self-help movement in sales training industry back in the late 1800s and early 1900s, all of whom would ultimately inspire such self-help and sales training legends as Earl Nightingale, Zig Ziglar, Tom Hopkins, Brian Tracy, and others you most likely have heard of as a sales professional. Most people are familiar with the success experienced by Napoleon Hill due to the popular Think and Grow Rich book he wrote and published in 1937. However, Hill wrote 11 books in total, including other impactful books such as The Law of Success in 1928, The Magic Ladder to Success in 1930, How to Sell Your Way Through Life in 1939, The Master Key to Riches in 1945, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. He wrote that one with W. Clement Stone in 1959. Grow Rich with Peace of Mind in 1967. Succeed and Grow Rich Through Persuasion in 1970. And finally, You Can Work Your Own Miracles in 1971. These are just some of his 11 books in total that he published that I thought were noteworthy and I'd bring up here today. However, today, we will focus on a topic not discussed as much when people talk about Napoleon Hill. That is, his struggles and consistent adversity he faced throughout his lifetime. His personal story, to me, is the truly remarkable story when it comes to the positive impact Napoleon Hill can have on people above and beyond just his self-help books. So let's dive into that topic just a bit. First, before I do, I must give credit to Frank Rumbauskis, author and founder of NeverColdCall.com, for so eloquently writing the story of Hill's adversity in one of his recent LinkedIn articles and email newsletter. I had always earmarked this episode of Throwback Thursday to feature Napoleon Hill. However, as a result of serendipity, I guess, Frank's email hit my inbox this morning featuring Hill's story of adversity. It was so well written, I thought I would feature parts of it here since Hill's ability to overcome adversity is the feature of today's topic. So, without further ado, let's dive into the factual parts of Hill's story of adversity as told by Frank. Napoleon Hill himself was no stranger to adversity. In fact, after reading his official biography, Frank is convinced that Hill is the unluckiest man who ever lived. Just consider these key points of Hill's life. First, he was doing very well in a sales training business until the crash of 1907 destroyed him financially and caused his business to fail. Next, he published his magnum opus, The Law of Success. The Law of Success made Hill an instant millionaire in 1928. And that's a lot of money back in 1928. Being a millionaire was a huge achievement. He immediately went out and bought his dream car, a Rolls Royce, along with a 600-acre estate just north of New York City. Then along came 1929 and the famous crash that started the Great Depression. Hill was instantly wiped out. In Frank's research, he remembers reading a story of how, before the banks closed for good, Hill withdrew a $1,000 bill. Yes, they really existed back then, a $1,000 bill. However, no one in the Depression days could break a $1,000 bill. So he was left without a nickel, but he took it in stride. Everyone else was in the same position, and Hill lived it out quite well. Second, sometime before the writing of The Law of Success in 1924 and the publishing of the final version in 1928, Hill had been working with a newspaper editor who agreed to help with the book. This editor, however, was assassinated by the mafia for exposing their criminal activities in the paper. Hill was also suspected by the mafia in assisting, and a hit was put out on him. He went back to his family in West Virginia for over a year, rarely left the house, and when he did, it was with a 1911 pistol in his pocket, properly gripped for immediate action. This was the most trying time of Hill's life, but thankfully, it finally caused him to stop delaying the writing of The Law of Success, and it finally got done. Third, in 1933, President Franklin D. Roosevelt reached out to Napoleon Hill to work as a writer in the White House. Hill was well known at the time as the top motivational speaker. Think of a modern-day Tony Robbins. And FDR wanted him to write propaganda pieces that would lift the American people's spirits and help end the Depression. Thankfully, it worked. Meanwhile, Hill found that to be a particularly depressing time in his life and wrote a book not for publication, but for him to read himself to lift his spirits when he needed a boost. That book would be published in 1938 as Think and Grow Rich. I know you've heard of that one before, if not read it. Sadly, this is where Hill's story became extremely unfortunate. Fourth, at the time of the publication of Think and Grow Rich in 1938, the 50-year-old Hill was married to a 26-year-old second wife. The immediate follow-up book to Think and Grow Rich was How to Sell Your Way Through Life, released 1 year later in 1939. In the book, Hill sings his wife's praises. He goes into great detail about the mastermind alliance with his wife and how they have a daily 3-hour business meeting. He attributed all of his success and wealth to Mrs. Hill. Fifth, Mrs. Hill was an evil woman, a gold digger, as Frank called her. She filed for divorce in 1940, and thanks to Hill foolishly giving her 100% of the credit for his success in the last book, Mrs. Hill and her lawyers used that book to destroy him in divorce court. She was awarded not only 100% of his money and property, but she was also awarded the royalty rights to The Law of Success and Think and Grow Rich. Unbelievable, but true. This left Mrs. Hill fabulously wealthy and left Napoleon Hill penniless. He decided to quietly retreat into his private life and took a management position with a large company. To add insult to injury, Mrs. Hill even wrote a book on how to be a successful gold digger after the divorce. Unbelievable, but true once again. For the next 10 years, the one and only Napoleon Hill himself have had publishing, after having published the best-selling self-help book of all time, lived an ordinary middle-class lifestyle alone and worried about paying his bills each month. Sixth, here's where the luck changes. If you've read Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude, then you know the story of how W. Clement Stone contacted Hill, arranged a personal meeting, and managed to talked him out of coming out of retirement as a speaker and author, and sponsored Hill to go on the lecture circuit. Meanwhile, the wealthy founder of Aon Insurance, which you've probably heard of, W. Clement Stone, took legal action on his own initiative, sued Hill's ex-wife, and successfully regained the royalty rights to Think and Grow Rich and The Law of Success back to Napoleon Hill. The power of wealth and influence. You just got to love it. So here's the happy ending in the story. Finally, nearing his 70s, Napoleon Hill was finally a very wealthy and secure multimillionaire. He lived out the rest of his life with his then fourth wife, Annie Lou, who, by the way, he had a very happy marriage with. He spent his time among his multiple country estates and continued to write books until his death in 1970. He passed away happy and with peace of mind. That ends the story of Napoleon Hill's life adversity as told by Frank Rumbauskas. Thanks for sharing it, Frank. And also, if you haven't already checked out Frank's selling system, you should do so at nevercoldcall.com. Again, that's nevercoldcall.com. And no, I'm not an affiliate or a sponsor of Frank or his selling system. I just want to give credit where credit is due for the research he conducted on this topic. And I know his system has helped over 700,000 sales professionals worldwide, so there might be something there for you to at least evaluate. Also, maybe I'll have Frank as a guest on the show in the future to discuss how the modern B2B sales professional can succeed without making a single cold call. That's what his system's all about. But that's a topic for another day. So, to wrap up today's episode, what's the moral of the story for sharing Napoleon Hill's adversity in his life story? Well, when you're feeling down and facing extreme adversity in your life, whether personally or professionally, just think of Napoleon Hill's story and how his sheer perseverance as it relates to handling and overcoming adversity throughout the ups and downs of his life can provide a model for you to evolve past your own struggles when adversity hits. Well, that does it for today's podcast episode. Now, let's finish up with some quick reminders. First, we recently launched 2 new B2B tech sales professional groups, one on LinkedIn and one on Facebook. Just search for B2B tech sales professionals on either LinkedIn or Facebook, or both if you want to join both groups, and join the conversation with your peers there. Second, if you haven't already subscribed to our free 7-day video email course titled 7 Steps to Master the Game of Complex Technical Selling, then you can do so by visiting mastercomplexselling.com. Again, that's mastercomplexselling.com, or you can text the word SI course, so as in sales integrity, SI course, all one word with no spacing in between. If you send it with a space between SI and course, you'll receive an error message back. So text the word SI course to the number 44222. After subscribing, we will send you your first lesson via email right away on day 1, and then one for the next 6 days. Third, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or SoundCloud. Just search for the Sales Integrity Podcast with Sean Pickett, and it should pop up and allow you to subscribe on one of those 2 channels. After you subscribe, please provide a quick 5-star rating and simple 1 to 2 sentence review to help others find the show. To provide a review on iTunes isn't as simple as you think. You can't do so directly within the podcast. What you have to do is actually click on the search icon, then type in Sales Integrity, and you will see my podcast there. Now, I'm referring to the purple podcast icon. When you click on that on your iPhone, brings up the main podcast center. Down below, you'll see the search icon. So click on that, type in Sales Integrity, and you'll see the podcast there. Click on the podcast. In it, you'll see the reviews tab in the middle there. Just click on that. And once there, you could provide a 5-star rating and simple 1 or 2 sentence review. Now, since iTunes prioritizes shows with the most ratings and reviews higher than those that have just a few of them, this will dramatically help the show be found by more people. So I greatly appreciate it. And finally, please share the podcast with your colleagues and friends who would find it relevant. You can do so by going to salesintegrity.com and click on the Sales Integrity Podcast menu link at the top of the page. All of the podcasts are there, and it provides you a way to click a button and share any episode, whether via email directly to individuals, or there's buttons there to share it on the various social media sites, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, etc. So I would greatly appreciate it if you spread the word about the show on social media to help grow it. And finally, that'll do it for today's episode. Now go out there in the sales world today and help your prospects and customers buy what they want, what they need, and what benefits them. And most importantly, go out there and make it a great day.